Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with episode number 617 of Ask Dave. Before we start, I would like to encourage you to subscribe and click the bell. That gives YouTube your vote of confidence that this is a channel worth recommending to others. The question we have today is from Avi Jan, or Jan, and does not give a call sign. It says, "Hi David, good morning. I want to know what is needed to have a mobile radio installed in my apartment. I understand that for the car it has to be different connections, but how would I make it happen in my apartment? And the antenna. I'd appreciate if you could give me some guidance. Thank you." Okay, there's lots of things going on here. First of all, let's take a look at this right here. This is an example of a mobile station with its microphone installed inside of here. This is an Anytone 578. Okay, and it works on 2 meters, 1.25 meters and 70 centimeters. Okay, very nice little radio. I recommend this radio. Of course, there are a million out there that can do it. So the radio that you want depends on whether you are looking for just FM voice or whether you want to have some of the digital modes like DMR. This radio here does DMR. Now, the digital modes between the different radios vary. There's no radio yet that does DMR and D-Star and C4FM. Okay, there are radios that do one of those. Yaesu makes radios that are C4FM. Then there is the Kenwood and ICOM, which are D-Star. And then all the Chinese radios are DMR, and Linko is DMR. DMR is an up and rising star because of the cost advantages of the Chinese radios and the fact that DMR works fine. It's a little bit of overkill for ham radio. It's a commercial protocol adapted for ham radio, whereas D-Star was designed by the Japanese Amateur Radio League specifically for ham radio, so it doesn't have a lot of the complexifications of DMR. Okay, now let's look at the elements of an inside station, whether you're in an apartment or whether you are in a house. This is using a mobile radio, supposed mobile radio, as your home base station here, okay? The key thing that you need is power. Now this down here is the reference power supply. It's the SEC 1235M, which will put out up to about 30 amps or so, 35 amps. So you can run your HF rig as well as your VHF rig there. Okay. Now, if you are going to use this rig to power multiple radios, you need what's called a power strip. So we'll go back here and look at the power strip. And yes, this is what the back of your radio station will look like eventually. And this is a power strip right here, where you've got input power that's coming from the back of the power supply right here into this. And then you can plug multiple radios in here, and each is separately fused. This particular power strip, which is the Rig Runner 4006U, which is the reference station power distribution unit, has room here for charging your phone and stuff like that. That's very common these days when you get the power boxes, okay? And then this runs to the radio, and you've got your 12 volts for the radio. Now the antenna coming out of here, this is the antenna for the VHF. I'm using just RG8X, but you're going to have an antenna that is separate from the radio. You try to have your antenna outside. This is a nice antenna for outside. This is a homemade J-pole. Okay, and you can see the J right there that gives it its name. And you can find the dimensions for these on the internet very easily. They're made from pieces of copper pipe. This pipe right here doesn't look very copperish, but it nonetheless is just copper pipe. And it's soldered together like you would solder plumbing stuff. And the way this works is here's an end-fed half-wave 2-meter antenna. This is a quarter-wave transmission line. It's closed at this end and open at this end. So it's very high impedance here down to zero impedance here. So you're feeding with the high impedance the end of the line. And then you find the point between 0 and extremely high where it's 50. And that's right about there. I know that looks really weird. Looks like it's shorted, but not at RF. Not at RF. Now, an antenna like this, you can put up outside almost anywhere. If you have a balcony, you can, just sort of have it near the rail or held slightly off from the rail. If you're on the roof and you have roof vents, which I know you do, you can just lay this end into the roof vent and it'll keep it pretty well nearly vertical, and that will be good enough for that too. Or you could devise some better match right here. Okay, so your elements are, and we'll draw a little picture here. For a 2-meter base station, 2 meters 70 centimeter, is you've got your basic radio here. And this radio is a mobile radio. It's the same kind of radio would hook in your car. But this, which could go to battery if you wanted to, but usually it goes to a power strip with which you, STRIP, power strip, and then this goes to a 12-volt DC power supply. Now the reason for this is so that you can power other devices in there too. And then that goes to the mains. Okay? And then from here you go to your antenna. We'll just use the schematic symbol for an antenna. You would like to get this outside if you can. If you have a balcony. If you don't, you can put it up against a window. Okay, that would help it too. Okay, and this should get you on the air. Now, if this antenna is close to you, some of these radios will go 10 watt, 25, and something like 60 watts. Okay, these are your power choices. No reason for that. 25 watts, if you've got it inside, you might just try with 10 watts. Now, and then of course you got coax here. I use RG8X. There are some people who say you need something thicker. It's not been my personal experience, but RG213, or if you don't mind the stiff stuff, LMR 400. This, of course, here is just DC. And we almost always use Anderson power pole connections. Now, this power supply does not have them on the back of it, but I want to show you a power supply that does. Okay, so I could... Okay, this power supply, it's a little long in the tooth, but it's still sold. S5-30DV. This is sold by PowerWorks, and it has the Anderson power pole connectors on the front, or you can use the standard crimp-on type with these terminals right back here. This has an advantage of this, but otherwise they are, the different power supplies are about the same. Now, one last caution. One last caution is to make sure. What is the one last caution? Let me think about this for a minute. One last caution regarding the power supply. Get a power supply that is designed for amateur radio. The kind of power supply you would get through DX Engineering or ham radio outlet. If you try to use, say, for example, a computer power supply, it actually really is 12 volts instead of 13.8. And that's a little bit low for a lot of these radios, although it will often work. However, a lot of these computer power supplies do not filter out the switching transients from the switching power supply very well. Whereas if you use a power supply built for amateur radio, like the reference power supply from dcasler.com/reference, which gives you a starting point for your station, you can end up with problems with the radios, what they call unpredictable behavior. In other words, it can lock up on you sometimes, or you'll hear loud hums or something and so forth. Okay, I think we have answered Avi's question in some detail here about how to set up a home station. Okay, you use the radio, the FM or DMR or whatever radio. It's the same radio you would use in the car. You just set it up here for home use. And we've drawn out the diagram here and shown you the actual components that can be used. So there you have it. The giveaway for the month of January 2022. In this, your entry must be in by the last Thursday of the month, because that's when I do a live stream. This is one of those little emergency radios where you can hand crank it, okay, like this, and it's got a little solar thing so you can leave it in the sun. It's got a flashlight that makes a little light. You can put in here to, if you want to put use this to charge your phone, or to put music into, play music from memory cards or something. This is power on and off, a little volume control there, and a switch down here in the bottom. This thing comes with its little case. It comes with a USB port that can be used in a variety of ways, and it comes with instructions. So this is our giveaway for the month of January 2021, and we will give that away. Now, let's talk about how you enter. You send to me via snail mail to Dave Kassler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. And you put the giveaway number on there, which is number 6, and your shipping address to which you would like it shipped, your name and call sign, and your phone number. And that way I can call you if I've got any questions interpreting your card. Okay, so have at it. And until we next meet, 73.